can start over.
Okay, so we're going to go through the 10 principles super fast, just to answer a couple questions and often common confusions first timers have. So radical inclusion, I think, it's an important point to try to have things as accessible as possible, but people still have to follow the other principles. So you don't have to like include people who aren't willing to do the other things, who aren't willing to help out, who aren't, you don't have to include the people who aren't willing to give their work and give their efforts as well. The next one is, and if anybody has a question or wants to add to that, just talk up. There's not that many people here for us to not be able to interrupt each other. Gifting is really connected to one of my favorite ones, which is next, which is decommodification. But the idea, if you had just decommodification, that doesn't mean we have to like help each other out. Gifting is kind of this idea of like, we are creating a society where everybody's kind of working together to help each other. And in fact, it's also, I'm going to jump ahead. I don't like the order these are in, I've decided. Radical self-reliance is one that people often know and have heard about, right? This idea that you pretty much have to be able to take care of yourself, or at least try to, but that doesn't mean you'll always succeed. And I think that's where like gifting comes in, not just for like, here, I made you a necklace, right? For Burning Man. It says it's the guy who often brings necklaces to Burning Man. But but it's also like sometimes somebody's gonna like screw up and not have enough water, or they're gonna not, like, as long as they tried, we can help each other out. Or maybe they didn't screw up, and maybe we just want to like, hey, come on over and have a meal. Like, we all take care of each other. That's what gifting is about.
Giftings can be acts of service, such as
Yes.
our gift to the playa is dance.
That's a great point. It doesn't have to be just it's not just necklaces.
Yes.
I would have mind.
Decommodification. It can be just helping somebody out who's like having a really hard day on playa, which everybody has at some point.
Yeah.
And it can be like talking somebody through a bad trip or a difficult mental state.
I think really there's just so much more sharing and willingness to share and kind of like proactive sharing that happens at Burning Man. Decommodification, I think, is the least understood principle. So it's one of my favorites because it got beat up in high school just like I did. So I think the problem with decommodification is that it's kind of it's a negative and a void. So the principle of decommodification is about what you can't do. And if it works, it's about something not being there that's not good, right? So a lot of people don't realize the value of it for many years. But the point, I think the easiest way to look at decommodification, and I want to say, I don't have a problem with commodification in the real world. You go ahead and capitalist the shit out of the real world and make tons of money. That's great. But Burning Man cannot exist in that environment. And a way to look at that is that I remember one of the coolest things I ever saw at Burning Man in my early years was there was somebody had made an actual roller coaster. Like, it was like 3 or 4 stories high, this massive steel tube roller coaster. They just made it with their friends. They brought it to the man and people were riding it, and it was incredible. And that is a great story, unless you have commodification, and then, so-and-so JJ Amusement Park shows up and sets up an actual roller coaster there and charges tickets. And who cares that somebody built one now? It's got a huge line. Screw that. I'll pay the $2 to go ride this one, and then we'll get a slushie after I buy a t-shirt, and then we'll go get some falafel at the falafel house. This would be not Burning Man at all. So like the magic of Burning Man is that it steps outside of the real world. So like we are very, it's easy to get lost in the decommodification principles. Our very own camp got lost at one point, and that has been fixed. And the people who got lost on that got removed. So we take that very seriously. Okay. Next is radical self-reliance. Oh, we did that. Radical self-expression. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it expresses itself very nicely. I don't think there's any questions about that.
Yes. Can you give an example? Sorry, English is not my main language, so for every one of the stuff, it's
great.
Examples would be great.
I will talk briefly about, this is leaving the principles slightly, but this is a very strong opinion I have about costumes at Burning Man. So you can wear whatever you want at Burning Man. In fact, the first many years I went, I was in jeans and a t-shirt because I was working on a lot of projects and I did not have time to put anything else together. But I think it's a mistake to look at wearing costumes at Burning Man. What I feel like when you wear clothes at Burning Man, I like to think of it as, imagine if you were like born on a desert island somewhere in a place that had perfect temperature and you never wore any clothes. You didn't even know what clothes were. Clothes didn't exist. And then global warming happens and all of a sudden it starts getting really hot and really cold.
And fortunately, a plane crashes on this desert island and has no survivors, but it has a bunch of sewing machines and fake fur and fabrics and whatnot, but no glitter and no feathers. And do you want to bring over the? Are you joining, or are you gonna?
I'm sorry if I could just steal you for 1 second to take a thing off the side.
Off his what? Can you wait for a bit? Yeah, I'll in a second. Where was I? Right. And then you have to figure out how to make clothes, having no kind of preconceived notion of clothes, and actually making clothes that fit whatever you wanted to wear, whatever fit you. I think that's the best way to look at clothing at Burning Man, and that's one example of radical self-expression. So the idea is radically being able to say who you are and show who you are through your art, through your actions,
without the confines of normal default outside people, societal expectations.
I think for me, a lot of the radical self-expression is action driven, is like just being free to giving myself the freedom to do whatever I want to do, like to interact with artwork the way that would feel good without worrying about, oh, somebody's watching and somebody's going to think I'm strange if I climb up this thing and hang upside down by my knees just because I feel like doing it. It's like a release from that idea of what are we supposed to do out here, and instead an invitation into what do you want to do? What do you feel called to do here?
Makes total sense. Thank you all.
Yeah, one of the things that I found was really interesting, and that somebody actually said it to me once, is in the default world, living your regular life, you go to a job and the job pays you, and basically you get money. And at Burning Man, and so what it's supposed to be is like another example is you have money and you go out and you buy a TV. You're giving money for that TV. It's kind of the same way. It's a weird way to talk about it, but basically in the default world, you're being treated like an object. You get money for doing a thing. You are a TV. You are a train. You are something to be given money to in order to provide something. At Burning Man, with that decommodification, without having funds, with gifting, it's about you giving and being you, without funds, you're not considered a TV, you're not considered a thing anymore. You're considered a human.
I'm not expecting anything in return, basically. I'm just doing it for the sake of I like doing it.
Correct.
Which is amazing. I love it. That's one of the things that I love about it.
So, and you do it, yeah. So that's what I really enjoy, is that when you go to Burning Man, you are no longer a thing to be bought. You interact with each other and you gift to each other, and you do it out of the goodness of your heart. Everybody's working together to make things better. So I liked when I heard that, I was just like, and it was part of decommodification, which is one of the reasons why you don't want the funds around, right? Because otherwise you'd be like, well, I'll pay you $5 to do that since I don't want to do it.
Yeah. No. I want to help. So I'm going to help in every way I can.
And we understand that even if you're there, you might be super excited and want to do every single thing. And then one day you have a bad day. Don't feel bad about that. Everybody has bad days on Playa. A lot of people get this overwhelming guilt because they're like, I feel like I should be doing more. No, self-care is a thing and it matters. So
I have to, I'm dealing with a tick situation. We have a tick removal. Can you keep going through the 10 principles? Tractor, zip tie, can you bring that up on a computer, Google that? And we were at...
Jakes, I'm going to, Dave, can you share screen sharing?
Yeah, hold on. I'll do that.
And then I made a thing that I really enjoy last year for the 10 principles.
Cool.
And I was going to do it again this year. Let's see if I can find it.
We are on communal effort.
Go for it. If you want to do communal effort while I look for the document I made.
Yeah. You find the thing to share. I'm excited to see. I don't remember what it is you're talking about, so.
I didn't put them up.
Very organized.
I got it last year, but I didn't put them up.
Cool.
Happy. I have so much attention.
Communal effort, I feel like, is all about the community and the groups of people that are there. It ties sort of hand in hand with gifting in that it is the work that we're all doing together and the things that we're all doing together. But gifting can be a very solo and a very, very independent kind of thing. And communal effort values that creative cooperation, the collaboration. We're intentionally trying to strive to produce things together, to make our offering happen together, to adventure together. And again, just like with the gifting, that is a gift that has to be given willingly and happily and from the heart. So if you're not feeling it, if you're like, I don't feel good and I need to go lie down or have some me time or walk off into the desert and look at art by myself for a little while, that's an expected thing as well, to have some of those times. But the communal effort means that when we feel like we should be in community, we're actively taking that initiative to dive in and to help create the community.
Without the communal effort, there is no Burning Man.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Oh, and just so you guys know, every principle that they have has a symbol, and that's what you see here to the left of the number. So they have a symbol that goes along with it.
Cool.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. We just found a tick on my little guy, which is a new thing. So
Is he tick free now?
yeah. Okay, so I believe we're on. You did communal effort. Participation is super important. Burning Man is definitely not a place to just sit back and be an observer. Go ahead and jump in, and people are going to be ready for you to jump in and be a part of everything that's going on. That's super huge. And then immediacy is kind of in the same area. It's about trying to be as much at the event as possible, as opposed to connecting things outside the event. Although obviously there's always situations where, you know, like somebody has a sick loved one or whatever, which we understand will drag you out. But
there is an 11th people are vying for, which is consent.
yes, I mean, I think that should be a principle outside of Burning Man as well.
Yeah.
You know, like don't punch people in the face. That's in there too.
Don't kill.
But I do think it's probably important enough to become one of the principles of Burning Man. But I feel like that's a. Oh, we didn't talk about Leave No Trace, did we?
We did not do Leave No
Talk
Trace.
about Leave No Trace or civic
Very
responsibility.
important.
Thank you. Leave No Trace, which is kind of a part of civic responsibility, is super important, and it's easy to not see how important it is. Again, we take very, very, very dear care of the playa. We love the playa a great deal. And the reality is, if 70,000 people went to the playa and did not scrub it clean as radically as you will see we do, we would not be able to continue this event because we would destroy the playa and it would be a disaster. But we literally, like our camp in particular, takes this very seriously. We completely scrub every trace, including like hairs and little fibers and whatnot, off of our land.
I actually was really interested because one of the times I was chatting with another camp, and they were jealous of our camp because
everybody should be jealous of our camp.
I know. Well, they were jealous about how many people were just so like there and present and doing the work, when a lot of camps there's like one person trying to do all of the work.
Oh my God, that would be heartbreaking.
Yeah. It was somebody from
That's
boutique.
why we're so careful about who our campers are.
Yeah. It ended up being boutique one year.
Yeah,
and
I'm not surprised.
and I would end up chatting with him, and he's like, to see you guys do your moop sweeps. He's like, it's a thing of beauty.
Okay. So that's and there was communal effort, which I think is related, but and that's very related to the other ones. Like if we all work together, we all participate, we all include everyone, and we gift and take care of each other. That's a big part of communal effort. I think that one bleeds outside of Burning Man as well. But we have to take care of this community and protect it. I'm more protective of Burning Man and the land there than anywhere else in the world, personally. So
I guess for the people that are coming new this year, if they have any specific questions, it'd be nice to see if they have anything that they're looking to get answered.
The first one that was mentioned, I didn't exactly get it. If there's an example, that would be amazing.
10. What was the first one? It was
I don't remember the name.
Let me find that. I just closed the page I was looking at that had that. There we go.
Sorry.
I think they're in a different order depending on where you look it up. Oh, radical inclusion.
Yes.
Right. So the idea is that Burning Man should not become a place that becomes really cool and that you hide from people. It doesn't become something you know, like the way Burning Man has grown is because everyone talks about it and wants to share it and wants people to come. An example of radical inclusion, it's inclusion of people, is that our camp is very open to new campers every year. But another example is when we're actually at Burning Man, we offer dance classes to everyone. We don't have like, oh no, I'm sorry, only these people can do it, or we try to make it available
You're
to
too
everyone.
tall, or you're too short, or you're too no.
Well, I mean, like if kids wanted to show up or different people, trying to make sure everyone has some way to be included. We're not just like teaching dance classes only to like really serious dancers. We're trying to include everybody. And our evening dances are not just, I'm sorry, you don't know how to tango, you don't get to be on the floor. If you go to Argentina, right, you could experience that. They're like, oh, you've only been dancing for 5 years, you don't get to dance on the social dance floor. I've had friends that has happened to. That's the opposite of radical. That's radical exclusion.
I'm from there. I'm
So there you
Argentinian.
go. Oh, do you tango dance?
I started here in Ley, so I'm a fake Argentinian.
Well, we include you as well, so have no fear. Okay. Do we want to like do introductions or questions, or I will say this, probably the way that the principles will affect you the most at Burning Man are, number one, decommodification. You're not gonna be carrying your wallet around. You're not gonna be buying or selling things at Burning Man. The leave no trace means, you probably want to not bring, like, if you're bringing a whole bunch of food, although we do have the kitchen, right? But if you are bringing food, you don't need to bring the extra packaging, because everything that goes in, you're going to need to take back out again, including we also have all the campers need to take out a couple bags of trash, because we don't leave anything at the playa. And because of radical self-reliance, we don't expect someone else to take our trash out. We don't expect there to be trash cans. Because of radical self-reliance, we bring our own food. I mean, a lot of your camper dues are the fact that we have banded together to create an environment where we can more easily take care of our food and water needs, as an example, and our shade needs. I mean, that's what your camper dues are paying for. And to gift everything to the playa, right? So what's cool is, because you are part of this camp, what you probably don't realize is that we have an amazing location. So Burning Man is shaped like a I don't know, Michelle, if you have a picture of like one of the aerial views, it's shaped like a huge crescent. Oh, Laura, go ahead. You can just talk, Laura. You're in charge here.
Yeah, no, I was just making the shape. It's a C shape.
Oh, I thought you were doing clarifying question, and now you want to talk.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's a big like sundial shape, and the actual city itself is inside of a big pentagram, which is about 7 miles across. The entire land that encapsulates Burning Man is the size of San Francisco. There you go. So this is huge. And is your mouse? Can we see your mouse? Is your mouse working? That right there. There's this little tumor right here. That's center camp, and in the very middle is the actual center camp, and we are facing that. So that big front road, that circle that's in the front on the open space, is called the Esplanade.
Hold on, here we go.
That's a good photo. That's a good photo. Oh yeah, you could do that. That would make sense. This is the MOOP map, which shows that our camp did a good job. These are the camps. Green means that they kept their area clean. This is how seriously people take it. So you can see that's the shape of the man, and it's miles and miles across. And we are located. Our camp is going to be.
Mike wants to show me the bigger. Mike wants the bigger image. Where is it, Mike?
Just zoom in. If you click on it, or there you go, right there, right there.
Yeah.
2018. Well, it means we're on it.
Anyway, center camp, the point is that the front street is called Esplanade every year. The streets after it are named according to the letters of the alphabet and based on the theme. So they go A, B, C, D, E, so on, moving away from the center. Maybe this is a good time for a little geography lesson. Okay, that was way too...
This is super high resolution, so...
unnecessarily high. So as it's loading up, in the very center of the open space, this is the open playa, and that's where the man is. Right above the man at 12 o'clock, everything's like on a clock, that's the temple. And then it basically goes around like a sundial. So that first street to the right is 2 o'clock. Can you show the line of that? No, the street.
Oh, the street. Oh, the street.
The street. All that green are all the camps. Sure.
Yeah.
Make our life easier. What's going on here?
It's still downloading. Sorry.
Oh.
It's super high resolution. I could zoom into every single camp.
This was perhaps more than we needed.
Sorry. I thought it was nice to show the moot map, but apparently.
It is.
So anyway, we'll just stick with this.
You got the aerial photo?
You want to go back to the aerial photo? Did it flip?
Okay, so up on the, yeah, that's perfect. Up on the top left there is 2 o'clock, that street that runs along there. And as it goes around, you'll see 3 o'clock is kind of more of a main street. Can you find it? And it goes all the way straight towards the man, which is in the center. That's where the man is. He gets burned on Saturday. And then up 6 o'clock, this is on a clock that's been turned sideways. Right there is the line into center camp. We are located right where Michelle is pointing. And that's a pretty amazing location. We're basically 1 block from everything. That's the everything right there. There's a lot more happening in that big open brown space than you think. That's called the open playa, and that's where like everything is kind of happening.
Yeah.
Where
all these little dots are pieces of artwork, like dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, so it goes 2 o'clock all the way around to 10 o'clock is the street to the left closest to us. 10 o'clock, that's 9.
Oh, sorry, 9 o'clock. Sorry, 10. I'm thinking you're going around in order.
And then, as I said, the Esplanade is that front street. And then the next street behind is A, then B, C, D, E, F, et cetera, et cetera. And they'll have different names depending upon yeah.
There will be
the
ice
theme.
sales. It's the one thing that is currently sold at Burning Man this year. And the nice thing, it's called Arctica. And basically one of the nice things about us is that there's only 3 of them, correct?
I believe it's 3, 6, and 9. Yeah, there should be one at the other side of center camp from us.
We get to, if you need ice for any reason, poke your head outside of camp, look outside and see if there's a line. If there's a line, we don't go.
Well, and also Haley should talk about this. Speaking of communal service, Haley Mo, are you?
Hi. Yeah. So in the years past, we have buddies who work with Arctica, and we've always done volunteer shifts there, where you get a dozen people or so together from your camp, and you go and you do all the ice slinging and run the money, and fluff the crowd, and it's really, really fun.
Fluff the crowd.
Yeah, you always have to have a couple of fluffers in the crowd.
But then the consequence is oftentimes you can get free. You can not have to wait in line to get ice.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the line can be enormous.
We've also helped do a couple builds of Arctica in the past, which is also really, really fun.
Now, what's interesting is because we have so many freezers and fridges, you probably won't need ice, but it's fun to go work at Arctica anyways.
Yeah, it's you get to interact with a lot of people in a very different way, and you get to usually pick music and create the scene. We've done themed versions of Arctica takeovers, and so if people are interested, I could reach out and see if they're looking for volunteers this year.
Yeah, I mean, communal effort comes in kind of automatically and strong. People help make, there's so many things that happen to make Burning Man. It's not just theme camps, there's also large art projects or mutant vehicles, the Rangers, there's the med tent, and you'll find as you keep going back, I remember very distinct, there's a thing called greeters. When you come in, you go through the gate and you give tickets, and after that you meet the greeters, and the greeters like welcome you into the space. And I had the most amazing greeting my very first year, and then a few days later I'm sitting in camp acclimating, and somebody said, "Hey, you want to go greet?" I'm like, "We can do that? Are we allowed to do?" And I've been greeting this will be my 22nd year greeting, and you're welcome to come join me. Greeting is unbelievably fun. Haley's gone with me and knows that greeting is a party.
Yeah, greeting is a blast too. And if
unbelievably fun.
If we have enough people who are interested, we could actually have a whole shift.
I've never done it. I've always been interested. I've never.
All you have to do
yeah.
is find me as the night is winding down and be like, "Dave, you don't need to go to sleep yet. Let's go greet for the next 10 hours." And I'll be like, "Hell yeah."
10 hours. Yes.
I have done many 10-hour shifts. I go to the greeters for I'm just going to be there for an hour, and 10 hours later I come back because it's too hot and I don't have sunscreen.
I feel like if
go ahead.
Sorry, I feel like if I went there, what's the word in English? I would be faking it in some way because it's my first time. Like I feel like I'm not allowed to.
That was exactly how I felt, and what I'm telling you is that's not how things work at Burning Man.
I think by the second day in, you'll probably be feeling it.
You just get to say hello to people and welcome them, and just everyone's just really happy to be there.
Like keep in mind, like the whole point of Burning Man is participation, communal effort, everybody working together to make a city. It is, I mean, it's the closest thing to like utopia I think you'll ever find. So the idea of you having to like fulfill, I mean, like all the principles tell you clearly you don't have to worry about that. Radical inclusion, participation, communal effort. If you want to go greet, you know, just you can easily do that. The moment you've come in through the gate, you're now a member of the Burning Man like home. And so to help other people come into that home makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You come find me, we'll go greeting.
Let's do it. I mean,
Great. I will absolutely do that. I don't think my baby's ever greeted. I should bring my little baby. He can come out and meet people.
I was just thinking that I'd love to get my kids out greeting.
Oh man, that would be fun. Okay, should we do questions? We have it, or should we talk about bringing stuff or preparation or what? What do people want to? What are the first timers have questions
Let's
about?
see if there's questions real quick. Are there questions? If there's no questions, then we'll just continue.
Okay, I'll give you my basic. Go ahead. I'll give you my basic rundown on what I think is useful to know. Although you could easily go to Burning Man without knowing anything and be blown off your feet. Although it helps to know, like, to bring enough water and things like that. I think it's important. The most important things you need to bring.
You don't have to bring enough water if you're camping with us.
Yeah, I mean, our
We
camp
bring
has
water.
water, ways to carry that water around so you have your personal amount of water with you, whether it's a Camelback or a little, you know, a water bottle or whatever. You need to have water. You need to have clothes that'll keep you warm, clothes that you can handle being in hot and cold, that you feel as absolutely comfortable in as possible. You do need to have, I mean, you'll need to have some food for like breakfast and things like that. You'll have to bring some extra snacks.
I like to carry some of my own food, just stuff that, so if I don't want to have to go in the kitchen, I've got like little snacky things I've got. So the kitchen will have leftovers and things, but I always like to have some of my own stuff.
And the kitchen has breakfast and lunch foods, so you don't need to bring your own breakfast food.
Yes, that's all there. If you bring no food,
Bring
you will not
a
starve.
bunch of trail bars because they're easy to carry and have a bunch of calories, and that's it. Everything else I just eat out of the kitchen.
I think you need to bring, we should talk about what food is good out there and what's not, because your taste buds will be different out there. But the most important thing you need to know is Nutter Butters, or have it out there. But also, you need to bring environmental protection. And what that means is you are going to want some sort of like eye protection, both from the sun and from the clay dust. Like if there's ever a windstorm, having goggles is great, both tinted and clear, whether they're bulky ski goggles or super cool like goggles, you got whatever, having something to protect your eyes, having something to protect your face if there is a dust storm, right? If you're a smoker, bringing ways to collect your ashes with you, right? You don't leave out, don't just tap your ashes onto the playa floor. The actual environment is not sand, it is a clay dust, and the clay dust is very alkaline, which is another word for basic or soap. Like it's like a soap dust. So the consequence is it sticks to everything and can start to dry out your skin. So having like a moisturizer or wet wipes or like wet naps, are a great way to, like, you have to clean your feet off. Otherwise, some people, your feet will start to crack. My feet like completely fall apart at Burning Man. Haley walks around barefoot and is immune to playa dust. I don't know how she does it. Although playa dust is actually good for you. I have strong feelings about that others might not agree with. And you need to have, what else? What else do they need for, sunscreen if you don't want to get burned. What other, like a hat, a wide brimmed hat of some sort is a really good idea.
I like umbrellas. Umbrellas are fun.
Definitely for the daytime, umbrellas are fun.
Umbrellas, yeah.
Any hat that you have, make sure you can secure it so it
Correct.
doesn't go away.
There will be winds. You have to be able to be protected from wind, and you also need to make sure, and this is less important for you, but making sure that your structures are protected from the wind. So if you have larger tents, if you have a large tent that is made up of a bunch of cheesy poles that doesn't go in our shade structure, it could very easily get destroyed. So if you're trying to do anything outside of the normal tent boundaries under the shade structure, you should probably talk to one of us or ask now. we can talk to you about structures that will and won't work.
We are a little bit lucky in the fact that since we are in the 6 o'clock circle, we have a lot, and we are in the city, we have a little bit more of a windbreak. But if you happen to be coming in for build week, we don't have that windbreak. So it does get a little windy, so you'll have to secure things better. We have had bad winds in the 6 o'clock circle. It has happened in the past. I'm not saying that we are immune to it. I'm just saying usually it's a little bit better than, say, if you were camping out at F,
In my previous
Bad
camp.
enough that they ripped down our shade sails.
Yes.
Yeah, that is something we have to do. Is take down the shade sails whenever there's a big
Tents
wind.
that have like venting areas in them, like most kind of cheap camping tents that you might get, are really nice for letting air through, but also let all of the dust in. So a tent that has minimal of those, or if it has like a rain fly on it, you're going to want to put that rain fly on and like make sure you bring it, make sure it fits tight against your tent so that you have slightly less dust in your tent.
Except the dust. And when it comes to dust, if you have shoes that have just random, this goes for not only your shoes, but also your tent zippers, they will clog zippers. So Mike and I tend to bring some zipper lube, and like lip balm is really good to get the zippers to move.
There will be lube in camp, is what she's saying.
Yes, there'll be multiple kinds of lube in camp.
But yeah, also so I would say along the things you should bring, and all these clothes you bring should not necessarily be the nicest clothes, because playa dust will eventually decay and degrade them, especially the way you need to wash them afterwards. So shoes, for example, don't bring your nicest shoes, or unless you're ready for them to become playa shoes. You should probably bring a bicycle, or have some way to get a bicycle, or some sort of transportation. Being on foot in a city that's 7 miles wide, where more importantly, all your friends are getting on bikes and heading out almost every night, is crap, right? So you definitely want to have some access to a bicycle. There are times when we just go for walks, absolutely. Sometimes it's nice just to do a walk of the whole Esplanade, take it nice and slow. But a lot of times, crews will go out on a bike, and you'll be left behind if you don't have a bike. Don't bring
a lot of times, sometimes
nice bike.
before dinner, somebody will call for a naked bike ride.
Is lighting on your list for yourself and your bicycle?
Thank you. Haley is a veteran burner. Is it 10 years now for you?
This will be the 20th anniversary of my first burn, but I missed a few. So yeah, but this is I call radically self don't get run over. So make sure you have lights on your front and back, and on your bicycle front and back, so that you don't get hit by anything. Yeah. And also you can find yourself and your friends in the dark.
And
some people have been calling it, instead of Burning Man, Blinky Man recently.
You can make that part of radical self-expression too, how you light yourself and your bike up. And if you have time to decorate your bike, even if it's as stupid as like putting a flag and some fur on it, because that will actually help you find it amongst the seas of bikes that are locked up when you maybe park it somewhere.
Yeah, like you said, locked up. I like to think that people don't steal bikes at Burning Man.
I don't know why you would think that. That's the number one theft at Burning Man is bicycles.
I call it permanently borrowing.
Okay. If you stick around Burning Man until the very end, there are piles of bicycles left behind, because a lot of times people sometimes steal bikes because they're worth money and they want them, but some people think it's okay to just use bikes as a community resource, which isn't very nice to the person who wants to use the bike themselves, who owns it. And on top of that, it's not following Leave No Trace, because the reality is they never take the bikes home. So there are piles and piles of bikes that have to be dealt with every year.
There are green bikes. Are they?
Yes, there are the green bikes, which are actually yellow, or vice versa. I can't remember. Does anybody remember what color the playa bikes are?
Green bikes are yellow.
Yeah,
green bikes are yellow. So there's an organization that paints bikes fully yellow, leaves them at the playa, brings out a whole bunch and tries to fix them. And if you see one that is specifically the all yellow bike, that's called a green bike, but it's all yellow because Burning Man, you are welcome to borrow those. You are not welcome to lock them or hide them. You are welcome to use them and ride them around. But again, really, you should have a bike.
They're painted green. They're called yellow bikes, but they're painted green.
Push it back out.
Thank you. They're called yellow bikes and are painted green.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, sorry. It's the other way around.
If you see bikes that are named a different color than they are, you could probably take it. There are also art cars that will go around, and they're supposed to generally be picking people up. And that's another way to get around. It is fun sometimes when you're walking around to just jump on an art car and meet people that way and ride around that way. I highly recommend doing it at least.
Trying to get art cars to be more radically more radically inclusive. It got to the point where a lot of these art cars were a little like you can't get on unless you're hot enough. I don't know. They were a little not inclusive. And so they've actually put in like bus stops now. And so if you're an art car, you basically, there's if you hang out at, what is it, like the 9 o'clock and C or someplace.
Bern area rapid transit.
Yeah.
And it's basically just up and down the Esplanades and or the promenades.
I thought it was a good way to include people more regularly.
Yes. So yes, you can often get onto the bigger art cars without a problem. That's a good way to get around. But definitely bring a bike, bring a lock, bring ways to light it up and light yourself up. We started this off and Tractor made a joke of, oh, Dave, do we need to bring a headlamp? Which is a joke because I literally have probably 100 some headlamps in my bus that go to Burning Man. And I recommend you bring multiple decent LED headlamps.
With extra batteries.
With all the batteries you need. Or
Supply
bring
that
USB
headlamp.
rechargeable ones with a USB
Bring at
charger,
least
because
two.
we will have light power going through the camp where you can plug in headlamps and phones and laptops. You will not be able to plug in air conditioners or,
tea kettles,
hot water kettles. Nothing of high power, but you
what
can definitely
about
charge
curling
them.
iron, Dave? I want to curl my hair.
No. We will curl your hair. It involves playa dust and water, and it'll stay that way for at least a couple of weeks. Often there's the question of how do I shower at Burning Man? And this is going to sound gross, but it turns out
Why would you do that?
you don't need to shower, not because we're all a bunch of hippies. That's a common misconception. There are very, very few hippies at Burning Man. We usually set them on fire, but although that is against radical inclusion. But although it's part of participation, I guess, and immediacy. But it turns out that when you are covered head to toe with a thin film of playa dust, which is basically like soap dust, you don't end up smelling. And when you're in an environment that is so dry that you actually don't get a chance to sweat because your sweat immediately evaporates off of you, it turns out that people don't end up smelling bad at Burning Man.
I do use wet. I make sure before bed. I always go to bed. Basically, I like to wet wipe at least some hands. It's called a horse bath. It's terrible, but basically, pits and pussy. And it's actually, I got that from a comedian. I'm stealing that. So basically, it wet wipes, and then I also do feet and hands, just because I don't ever want to get playa foot, because I want to be able to walk the playa all the time. And I've seen people get just absolute deep cuts on their feet because it cracks their heels so hard that they can't walk, and then they're stuck and they can't go places. So if you don't know how playa is going to affect your feet, take care of them just in case. That way you don't have to be that person that gets stuck having to, hang out. Not that our camp is bad. Not that I love our camp. I want to hang out on the camps. And if you get playa foot and you get to hang out on a camp, it's a positive, because the people we have are amazing. So, but it can get frustrating because then you can't go anywhere because you can't walk.
But speaking of hanging out, I think it's good to mention that a lot of people, there's a lot of heat during the day. So a lot of people deal with that by changing their schedule. And it's a pretty convenient schedule to like try to sleep as late as possible until the heat makes it impossible to sleep, and then kind of drowsily hang out in camp until, in the shade, drinking fluids and relaxing until things start to cool down, going out a little bit. We have dinner every night, which everyone is pretty much expected to be at, and it's awesome. And then we all go out and have a good time. Oh, and also, you don't need to shower at all at Burning Man, but you especially don't in our camp, because we have the steam bath, and the steam bath will make you so clean.
Look at your camera.
Yeah, sorry.
There
we go. The steam bath. We have a steam bath in camp, which is amazing.
Human dishwasher. We call it the dishwasher.
Yes, do not call it the steam bath in public. We literally call it that because we don't want even our neighbors, who we love, like, radical inclusion doesn't mean we have to try to put more people into it. Huh?
Camp secret.
It's a camp secret because we just don't have enough for everybody. So it's a little bit of anti-radical inclusion, which is unfortunate, but we're okay.
But it's not part of our offering. It's not part of our gift. And other camps do gift steam baths. So as their gift, as their inclusive thing that they do. So this one is a camp resource. It's, but we don't have the space to hold the entire 70,000 people in our human dishwasher.
Yes.
We do potentially, as far as I know, we're going to have internet again. The internet is slow. It is not great. A lot of people will notice that our internet exists when it comes to radical inclusion. A lot of people will be like, can I use the internet? For the main part, we say no, just random people off Playa. It's good to give them places to go. So we'll give you like the knock, which is the place where the internet comes from. If you get close to there, they can go. But let's say you have a friend that is close to camp and that's close to you. And this basically says, I do need internet. You are allowed to grant them access, but you are not allowed to give them the password. So you can grab their phone.
Part of that is because it's not our gift to give. It's a gift somebody else is giving to us.
And it'll, if it gets to the point where it's overwhelmed, it doesn't work for anyone anymore. So it's already slow and cumbersome and doesn't do that great. You can do maybe check an email or get a text, online text out kind of a thing. But basically, if someone absolutely needs it, you can take their device, put the password in, and then hand them the device back. But we ask not to basically give out the password. And it's not for some random people that are just walking around. It has to be someone you know or you've been hanging out with for the day and you like them, they're hanging around camp, stuff like that. So,
but if somebody just needs to look something up, we often have somebody who has a device that they can hook up to the internet. Along those same lines, if you have devices that are hooked up to the internet, like if you have phones and whatnot, we generally ask that you turn off your auto updates on the phone so you're not like downloading, uploading all your photos. That's a big problem they've been having with the internet getting overwhelmed lately, is like people take all these photos on their phone and then they come back to their camp, and because their camp has Wi-Fi, their phone's like, oh, I'm going to upload those to the cloud. So we turn off auto updating because the internet we get is very wobbly and slow and overwhelmed. So, and often likely to go down.
I basically say, assume we don't have it. It's nice to occasionally be able to do a quick check on your phone real quick, but assume it doesn't exist. Put your phone away and just use it as a camera.
Yeah.
It's nice for the sake of immediacy too, to not feel that like pressure to be checking your phone, to be uploading photos. If you really need to like check for an emergency reason, absolutely, totally fine. But it's a nice mindset to get into, to just
get rid of it.
Imagine you don't have your phone. Imagine you don't have any obligation to connect to.
That's one of the reasons I love Burning Man. It's nowadays with everybody so connected to their phones, you get to go and you sit down and people are actually looking at each other and engaging with each other and talking. It's amazing. Eye contact. It's lovely. That's my favorite.
Yeah, you will have some of the most sincere and real conversations with total strangers at Burning Man regularly.
No. What else?
Dave, did you have a structure piece around other folks giving advice, other returning burners?
Yeah, you should all give advice.
We do have common trash in camp. I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about camp as well. It is nice to have a communal trash, but I also say, think of it as you do have to take the trash out. So read signs and make sure you're putting the right trash in the right places and do your best to keep things as tidy as possible. It's so easy when you're at home and you're not thinking about things and you just throw stuff away and it's big and fluffy and in the wrong place and somebody else will organize it. There is no somebody else, it is us. So, and if there's a whole team of people called the Fire Lords who are going to be like having to deal with this, and everyone has to take out trash. So the dirtier, the grosser, the nastier, the bigger it is, the more you have to take out. And the more
I kind of personally feel like the main trash cans in camp are mostly for camp trash, like kitchen and stuff like that. Like in general, you could throw a couple candy bar wrappers or whatever in there, but most of your trash that you bring, you should bring back out. Like radical self-reliance, leave no trace, right?
Our trash
It
can.
also goes for the people on our dance floor. If somebody just has like a cup or something that they're throwing away, we definitely want it to be in our trash can as opposed to on the playa or like becoming moop. But the trash cans that we have aren't just open for everyone on the dance floor to throw away all of their trash.
No,
Because
yeah.
we would get overwhelmed.
But
with
our camp
other people's trash out.
trash, yeah. A lot of people, we don't, the camp trash that is in front of the trailers, those are for everyone to use that is in our camp. There, that's where trash goes. And when you brush your teeth and you spit in the trash, it'll dry out. Plus, we also have a gray water thing now. A lot of people spit into the gray water.
We have gray water collection, right? We're not doing a gray water dehydrator this year.
No, we have gray water, a giant gray water tank that's being dropped off at the beginning of the week. We fill it with our gray water all week, and then United Services picks it up at the end.
Which is nice.
Yes.
Oh, there's the 12th principle of Burning Man after they add consent, which is safety third. Which is that Burning Man is a I am blown away every year by, it's so funny because like, this is not funny, but every couple of years go by and something terrible happens and somebody dies at Burning Man and the news go crazy about the fact that someone died at Burning Man this year. I'm like, no, the news story is that there weren't thousands of people who died at Burning Man this year. It is like the most dangerous place in the world, and yet there are not endless deaths, which is shocking to me. Especially considering population-wise, there are less deaths per capita in Burning Man during its time than there are in San Francisco, and nobody makes a big news story about that. Having said all of that, you do have to be intelligent about what you're getting involved with. If you see some people who are playing with fire nearby, you should look at it and assess for yourself whether or not you feel these are safe people to be around or not. Or whether, I do remember, like, I was once climbing up to the third story of a building that somebody had made, and I was like, this is a little wobbly, and someone coming down the stairs, their foot actually went through the stairs, and we caught them and helped them down, and we very carefully, we still went up to the third floor because Burning Man, but safety third, but we did it one person at a time on the steps from there on out because it hadn't been built very well. So there's no code.
What was the barbecue, the one that had the car on the spikes, and they were climbing on it and they flattened. So
yeah, that was the one time I've been at Burning Man and I started to climb something and I'm like, no, this is actually beyond my limits, and I came back down, and there were a bunch of people really badly injured on that.
There was also what was a bullhead that rotated. Where
they shouldn't have closed that down just because a couple of people lost some fingers. Come on.
I'm
Safety third.
Recalling there was a giant incline.
Oh, the ramp.
The ramp. A bunch of people got really injured on that. It was so fun.
That is an example of how you can bring something to Burning Man that on paper looks pretty stupid and it turns out to be so awesome. Somebody built this huge structure. It was just a ramp. It was a really big ramp, and they covered it with AstroTurf, and then they had a bunch of cardboard boxes and a bunch of big foam blocks down at the bottom, and they said, do whatever you want, and you could go sliding down it. And I was about to say, safety third, the number one reason people go to the med tent every year, except in one case, is because of dehydration. So you have to keep hydrated. The year the ramp was there, the number one reason people went to the med tent that year was because of the ramp. And I actually contributed to that because I spent some time there as a dancer and a snowboarder figuring out how to ride down on cardboard standing up, and I finally figured it out, and other people I found out, were copying it afterwards and getting severely burnt as they'd fall down in their shorts because they hadn't done the proper assessment. Safety third. I want the med tent to have something to do to feel valued. So
the other thing the med tent gets a lot is people bashing their foot on stakes that are not covered covered or caned over. Like rebar stakes sticking out of the ground, people walk over them and just cut the bottom or smash the bottom of their foot. So if you're going to be using stakes, make sure that they're covered, because that's
tennis balls or little plastic mushrooms. They have rebar covers you can buy from the Home Depot. You won't need this as much if you're in the shade structure, because it's a lot easier to keep your tent down. But tent stakes by themselves often aren't enough to deal with the kind of winds that you see sometimes at Burning Man.
They do nothing. Tent stakes.
They do nothing.
Yeah.
So having rebar, if my bus is there, I will probably have extra rebar that's been bent into a candy cane, so it's bent over, so at least there's no sharp points. But yeah, you might want to bring like a few rebar stakes. There will be sledgehammers, both the tool and the person, because Mike's name is Sledgehammer, in our camp. So if you bring rebar and some rope, you will have a way to tie down your tent. So
and bring some little lights to light up the
ropes
and
the
the
rope,
guy lines so that people don't,
Yeah, there's a lot of really
in the middle of
cheap
the night.
and low cost, like they're called fairy lights is one way to do it. They're like these just long, thin wires of LEDs that hook up to watch batteries that'll last. Like you maybe need to bring one extra set of watch batteries. Definitely bring a good headlamp. Bring one that you're going to happily wear the whole time. Having a light on your back is a really good idea. As Haley had said. What else? I mean, yeah, Laura, this was not meant to. I'm not big on structure. You should know that by now. So anybody who has like Laura has been many years. Haley is an old vet. Both zip tie and sledge. How many years is it for you guys now?
9 or 10.
Not
I have to
sure.
do the math. 9 or 10.
We started in 2012, and I think we skipped only 2 years.
I'm still the grandpappy, and I go every year, so you guys will never, ever catch me.
Never. No, not unless we take you out.
To dinner.
Yeah.
I like it.
And I'm older than you, so I can't wait until you die or something.
The thing
this is my 20s. Go ahead.
thing I'm consistently happy that I do when the years I've remembered to do it is put a fresh set of clothes in a Ziploc bag in my car for the last day.
Yes.
After we're done and you're getting in your car to go home.
Let me look at my list.
Yes, that's a
Maybe
good one.
share that.
But related to that is I put like aliquots of underwear and socks in Ziploc bags so that halfway through the week, all of your clothes are going to be covered in dust, but you can still have like a fresh pair of socks that isn't dusty yet.
Are you a scientist?
Yeah.
You said aliquot. That's why.
I did.
I'll
Small
have to look
collection.
I would say along those lines, one of the lessons somebody wants in. One of the lessons that I learned the hard way was I brought a loaf of, well, first of all, there's certain foods that don't work very well at Burning Man. Peanut butter sandwiches are a disaster. They're just like think about being in an incredibly dry environment. Also, I believe like the alkalinity changes the way things taste because things taste different out there. Like I know like a V8, which is disgusting in the real world for many people, is a delicious thing out there. Or pickle juice. Nutter butters are good in the real world and they are unbelievably fantastic out at Burning Man. Whereas things like a peanut butter sandwich is terrible. But if you're going to bring bread for some reason, don't bring a loaf of bread, because my first year I brought a loaf of bread. I opened it, took 2 pieces out, closed it up tight. I did that. And on the third day, all the bread was stale because it had all completely dehydrated. So because it is such a dry environment, just from opening and closing the bag 3 times. So if you're going to bring like flour tortillas or bread, put them in like packs of 3 or 5 and like in a separate Ziploc bags that you can bring. What else?
I have one question. And it's probably going to be dumb, but like bathrooms, how does it work?
That is a great question that we should have answered before. So there are porta potties that are part of your ticket costs. And there are porta potties that are around. There's some in the open playa. You're most likely going to be using the ones in the open playa. And also because we're in center camp, there is usually a bank of porta potties that one of the camps near us has that we can use. Usually I don't know if that's going to be true this year. Things are a little different this year. We usually have power to, and that's gone. So sometimes there's porta potties nearby. It's not a bad idea to have a very, very closable, non-breakable bucket that you can use for yellow liquids.
Mike uses like a large Gatorade container that he'll pee in at night if he doesn't want to walk. And then in the morning, when you go to the restroom, you dump everything and do your pee.
Don't bring any yellow vitamin water or Gatorade.
No.
For that reason. Because that's a terrible mistake to make.
Yeah. Make sure you sniff your Gatorade before you take a sip of it.
Assuming your
Here's
nose still works. My nose stops working at Burning Man. So like
Yes.
saline spray for your nose if you have a sensitive nose can
If
be
somebody you don't like, try it before you do.
So here's a little list that I have.
I want to add something to what Haley just said. Here's a burner trick for you. Bring Vicks Vapor Rub and Q-tips. And when your nose is completely clogged with playa dust, it's quite a hit and it's amazing. But you put the Q-tip in the Vicks Vapor Rub and stick it up your nose and rotate it around, and it will open you up and get all that playa dust out of there.
I'm just trying to see if there's stuff.
You had drill on there. If people have, we love lithium battery powered drills. Oh my God, yes. Bring 30 of them.
So I just lost it. What was I saying? Tent guidelines, folding chair. You'll want to bring that for dinner.
Yeah, camp chairs that are
Camp
easy to
chairs.
sit up in, as opposed to the super reclining ones, right? They're super cheap. Walmart or Target, bring one that you can easily pack, very small, that will let you sit at a table.
Good walking shoes, wide brim hat, socks. I had something here I just saw that was like, ooh. Vinegar, dust mask, goggles, utensils, lip balms, bike locks, first
Bring
aid.
like a plate and
Yes, a plate.
like a plate, a bowl, and a couple, and some utensils, and a cup and a water bottle is a nice way to be able to have dinner.
Yeah. I bring a pee funnel. That's so that I don't have to sit down on some of those restrooms, and some single ply toilet paper. Some of these restrooms will not have toilet paper if they hadn't been serviced in a while, so I like to bring my own. They also make these little pads. If you look them up, they're impregnated with like, God, I forgot what kind of metal. But basically, you can just wipe yourself if you're a female who needs to wipe.
But I would assume they cannot go in the porta potties then.
No, these you keep. They're reusable.
Yes.
So you can use them a bunch, and then you just use a little bit of water to wash it off, and it cleans. It's fairly sanitary. I tend to have them, but no, it doesn't go in the potty because it's actually material.
Yeah.
So vinegar solution was toothbrush, obviously toothpaste, wet wipes, sunscreen.
Let's talk about the don't bring it list.
Oh yeah, the don't bring it. Where's
No
the don't?
feathers or glitter allowed in our camp at all. Absolutely not.
If you bring a tarp
What is that,
or
Debbie?
any like tent fabric, make sure it's not shedding bits and pieces of it everywhere.
Oh, this is what
Yeah,
I
like
want.
very, very old tents will start having little particles of plastic that come off of them.
Yeah.
Labeling.
Like, don't bring glow sticks. Everyone's like, no, bring some rechargeable things. Glow sticks are single-use, one-time plastic pieces of junk. Don't bring glow sticks. Styrofoam.
Glow sticks with the light switches on them that just have a battery and you can turn them on and off are great.
That's, yeah. Label.
Don't bring hair cutting scissors.
Yeah.
We will murder you.
Label your stuff if you care about it and you want it returned. At the beginning of burn, you might feel like your head's on tight. You're like, I'm not going to forget my cup. I know exactly where I'm putting this down. By the end of burn, you'll have left it someplace, like in front of my tent. And I'm like, I don't know whose this is, and it's going to go in like lost and found. So
Yeah.
Label however you want to label stuff. But basically, I actually label things not only with my name, my playa name, the location of my camp, because almost everybody out there's a do-gooder. They'll actually come by and drop it off at your camp. I know I mean, I've seen plenty of people return things to, I lent somebody a really nice multi-tool, and I had a little loop on there, and he never came back. And it was my time to go up on the airplane. And so I left on the airplane, and I came back, couldn't find him. And I'm like, well, it has my name on it. And I basically told his friend that was in camp, wherever he went, this is my name, this is where I'm at. If he can bring me my tool, great. He showed up 2 days later. I got my multi-tool back. So we just end up
Went on the whole like cross playa trek to somewhere way out by 3 o'clock to return somebody's hat who had danced on our dance floor the night before. And they left it there, but it had their camp name inside the hat band. And we had a grand old adventure like the whole afternoon just finding this guy's camp.
Yeah. So if you want it back and you don't want to have it be playa moop and or playa gift, label it and label it well. With the other thing that we do that does Playa Info, which is around the corner from us, does have a lost and found. So a lot of people lose their keys at Burning Man. Make sure you have a way that your keys are labeled. 2 things that happen at Burning Man with your car
Turned
keys.
in 2 cell phones to Playa info.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Label your keys with tell you say your name on it, and bring 2 sets of keys so that if you lock one in the car, they do have a Black Rock locksmith that will come and unlock your car. It's happened once.
What are you talking about? I would never do something like that.
He let me borrow the keys.
And 100% also label your day pack, or like your travel pack for Playa. One night, I think 2018, I partied too hard, and I had my ID and phone and like keys and useful stuff in my camel backpack, and accidentally swapped it with someone else at a party, because you end up dropping your bag in a big pile, dancing a bunch, picking it up, going on to the next thing. And I had swapped bags with someone else who looked exactly the same. And she had her bag labeled with her camp name, and I dropped it off the next day. And I made sure to have mine labeled with like my phone number, name, camp name, and my ID was in there. Yeah, and location. It showed up at Playa Info like 2 days later. The Playa provides.
I have a question. Do we have any first timers who wear contact lenses?
If we do,
I'll
it
take
has
that as
not
an-
been they are not either on this call or they are not. But if they, let's say we do, what's up with that?
Well, I mean, I would say just I mean, really, like, it took me a long time to realize, like, the playa dust will really start to irritate your eyes. The longer you're there, like, you'll start looking like you're drunk. But you really have to clean your hands a lot. And it took me a long time to realize you can just put contacts in when your hands are wet, because trying to dry them off when all your towels have playa dust on them and everything. So I would just like super clean my hands and then just run them underwater and then put my contacts in. And that has helped so much. Having a lot of extra saline, extra contacts, definitely necessary. Another thing I wanted to add is, I think you touched on this a little bit. Your emotional state at Burning Man can be interesting. It is going to be probably one of the most overwhelming experiences you've ever had, or certainly up there. And a lot of times what happens is, I'd say for about maybe 30-40% of first timers, they have a really big crash day where they like have a super like emotional crash for one day where they
It's
feel
not just
super
first timers.
depressed.
It happens to me every year on day 3 or 4.
It can happen. Yeah. So I have it happen like every 4 or 5 years where you just, the world is crushing you. And I think it's because, I don't know. It's the playa dust combined with the high of being there. I just know, stay hydrated and chill out and you're going to be okay. And the next day will be probably one of the greatest days of your life.
Circling back really quick to day packs.
Yes.
Have a backpack of some sort that you're planning to have every day. One with a water bladder in it is great, but you'll want everything you want to survive in the desert in there during the day. So a snack and your water,
Lip balm.
Yeah, lip balm, extra sunscreen, a hanky's always good, your goggles, and a second cup so that if you're out somewhere and someone's offering beverages, you have a cup with you that's separate from your water container.
The smallest day pack that does what Haley just said is ideal, as opposed to like a full-size backpack that'll sit on your back and cause it to sweat.
Another good
smaller
thing,
camelbacks are great.
another good thing to bring would be some earplugs. Because the
Yes,
music is loud and 24 hours a day, and it can be disturbing if you want to, take a nap or have some quiet time. So bring some
Or not damage your
earplugs.
earballs beyond all recognition.
Center camp is quieter, but now we're gonna have generators everywhere, unfortunately. So that's gonna be loud.
It's a floof. What's the name of the floof?
That's Pendergast.
This is Radagast.
Radagast.
Yeah.
So 2 more things. Expectation setting wise, your drive in, you're going to be, if you're driving in, which you probably are, you could fly in, but you're going to basically be going up 80, and at some point you're basically turning left into the desert, and you drive for like an hour and a half or so into the desert. And there is a gas station right as you exit 80, and then there's 2 more cities like about an hour or so later that are right before. There's Empire and then Gerlach. Gerlach is the last city kind of before you do your final loop drive that then takes you into the desert, the actual desert. So it probably makes sense to fill up on gas right after you get off 80. There is a gas station there, and then maybe even fill up again at Empire or Gerlach, depending on how small your tank is. When you are leaving, there's a process called Exodus. And Exodus can take a very long time, especially if you try to leave earlier. One of the nice things about working so hard to clean the playa is that we tend to leave later and there's less Exodus. But Exodus can take upwards of like 8 to 10 hours just to get from your camp out to the road. Or on some years it can take, an hour or so. I mean, the later you stay, when I've stayed late to help clean up big art projects, and I've left on like a Tuesday, and we just drive straight out. But Exodus is something you need to be kind of prepared for emotionally and time-wise, realizing it's going to take you a long time to get out on the road, and once you do, you're not in a hurry. Like, it's a 2-lane road all the way to 80, and people who are trying to jump in front of the cars in front of them, there's accidents, and I think there's more deaths happening on what is it, 440? What's 447? What's the highway?
397 or the 390, 395?
No, that's way.
Something. Whatever. The highway that you get from like the last hour and a half drive, I think,
I
has
see what you mean.
more deaths on it
I thought he was trying to compare.
than actually happen at Burning Man because of people like trying to race around.
They're trying to race around. The FOMO. They're like, I gotta get there quicker. I gotta get home now.
You're not getting there faster. There's 7,000 cars in front of you.
Yeah.
The very nice Burning Man friendly mentality disappears very quickly when you hit pavement, and people become their asshole drivers again, just like it's that real.
There are 7,000 people in line, and if there are 60 asshole drivers, everybody gets to see them, and those are the people you remember. Yeah. Burning Man is still one of the best places in the world. Oh, and I'm going to give you one more piece of advice. You're going to go to Burning Man, and if you're a good, intelligent, decent human being, you're going to go next year and the year after and the year after and the year after, and then right around there, you're going to start getting jaded if you're not careful. And you're like, Burning Man is not cool anymore.
And you start looking jaded. Jaded means defined.
Oh, jaded. Yeah. Defined. Instead of being like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm like, Burning Man's not cool anymore. I went back when it was cool. No, you didn't. It was cool in '98, and everybody who was there when I went my first year told me it wasn't cool anymore. So we've all missed the boat.
Right around year 7, the man actual structure got smaller.
That's what you think. It looks like the actual people often think that the man gets smaller every year because they themselves are growing. So when you start getting jaded in 5 years, come talk to me. I will help you get through that.
I will. Promise.
It's solvable. I think does anybody else have anything?
I would say also, depending on your drive-in, how big your vehicle is. Also, what ends up happening, some people, if they're pulling something or if they're out there, what ends up happening is they're stuffing their car full of stuff. I've seen cars again, this goes to driving. I've seen cars toppled over, and I've also seen people lose trash. Like they try to strap the trash down to the roof. These are things you don't want to do. We want to keep the playa as nice as possible, but we also want to bring that mentality to our planet and how we actually live our regular lives. Just because you leave the playa, you shouldn't be mooping the regular world. Take it home and properly dispose of things.
Moop is how we talk about trash. It stands for matter out of place.
Yes.
Oh.
One of the things that makes you a super cool burner is if you are out and about in the open playa cruising around and you are driving on your bike and you notice like a feather that some idiot brought to Burning Man that's sitting on the ground, you slam on the brakes, pick up that feather, and you are ultra awesome Burning Man citizen 6000 at that
And even
moment.
better, if that feather's on a leaf on the wind, you go running after it.
Yeah. And I will tell you, as someone who is a professional mooper, because I have found a dollar bill on the playa, the stuff you can find on the playa is pretty amazing. The playa provides in lots of ways. I had like Charlie one year brought a bike but didn't have time to outfit it. And she's like, I need a bike rack and I need a radio and I need a light. And I'm like, hold on a second. And I found it all on the playa, not on other people's bikes, but in one night, I literally found her everything she needed for her bike, including lights for the bike, light for the front, a bike rack, a lock. I have so many bike locks in my bus that I find every year. And it's a fun little game to figure out how to unlock them. Not attached to people's bikes. That doesn't count as moop. But anything you find, I tell people when I greet, it's not trash. It's like it's something you can bring home and you can put on your mantelpiece and you can tell all your friends, look what I found at Burning Man. This is like, it was a gift. It's a memory. And people are like, that's a candy bar wrapper you have in a frame. And you're like, you will never understand until you go to Burning Man.
There's good YouTube videos on How Was Burning Man? If you're really interested, go and watch How Was Burning. Have you seen it, Dave?
I've seen them all.
All?
Yeah,
was
I'm
Burning
jaded
Man?
now.
Burning Man.
Yeah, how was Burning Man?
Burning Man is so much cooler
That
next
was
year.
Burning Man?
How was Burning Man?
How was Burning Man? Yeah,
How
it's not
was
describable.
Burning Man?
How wasn't? So.
Oh, I guess another thing to keep in mind is you will, and I tell us when I greet people, there is a big schedule of things, and chances are you're not going to do any of that.
The Book of
You'll-
Lies.
your plans if are nothing at Burning Man. Things will be so much better and more amazing, and will just happen. Go ahead and make the plans. Just be ready for them to not work out the way you want and to be much better than you expected.
I prefer to just jump around with whomever, so I think
You're
that's
already
gonna
in
be
the
great.
right mindset for that.
Pepper's already a burner and he's never been. Like,
He has the right attitude.
he has the right attitude.
Related to packing, 'cause you touched on that briefly. When you go through the gate to come into the event, the gate crew wants to make sure that you are not smuggling extra humans in, which means that they will check inside your car and inside your trunk, which means make sure you don't pack things on top of your trunk, on top of your car, making it hard to open your trunk. Because I know a number of people who have had to unpack half of their vehicle in order to prove that there is not someone hidden inside of their vehicle. Just an order of
And
operations.
don't pack people in your car that don't have tickets.
That poor person, if someone was in the trunk.
No.
I've seen that. I've seen a car in front of me get unpacked, and they pulled 2 people out that were covered with a bunch of lumber and stuff, and the whole vehicle had to leave. They lost their tickets. So that also means you can't really, if you're going to pick up a hitchhiker going into the burn, make sure they have a ticket. You have to see that ticket. And
Makes sense.
also, if you're driving people you don't know, or even yourself, Burning Man may seem incredibly lawless, but the reality is there is law enforcement there. And they're often, especially during Exodus, looking for whatever reason they can to pull you over. Like if you're going 8 miles an hour, because the speed limit is 5 miles an hour, they will pull you over and detain you so they can get drug sniffing dogs to check out your vehicle. So bringing drugs in or out of Burning Man is a risk that you need to really be considering how you want to deal with that, especially with the bringing out.
Just so
If
you
are
know, weed, pot, the simplest things that is legal in California and is legal in Nevada. Burning Man is on BLM property, which is federal land, and drugs are illegal on federal land. So even though you're like, well, I'm in Nevada. when
Here's
you
my
go-
card. It won't
Yeah,
work.
it doesn't work. You are on federal land and drugs are federally illegal, just to let you know.
So I will say this: a lot of people do drugs at Burning Man. Feel free, just please do them safely. Be careful about how you bring them in or out. I've never done drugs at Burning Man. I don't see why you would need to do them, because like just being at Burning Man is like the best drugs you'll ever take. But just be careful if you're bringing some in and out, and be careful about how you take them. Make sure if you are taking drugs that alter your judgment that there are people there, because you're going to be in a desert. Right? Make sure there are people there who know where you are, what you're doing, right? Stay with a group who can take care of you.
Yeah.
Sense.
Stay hydrated, and if you're getting those serotonin drops, take your things that you need to do to make you feel better afterwards. So that
That's
you're,
like I think that's the third reason people end up at the med tent. So
yeah. And then there are bad trip to also there's then Zendo Project. So if you are having bad trips, there's places that can support you.
That's really good. I'm gonna try to glue to people. Like I'm probably not gonna try to be by myself.
We'll go on adventures. Camp adventures.
Yes, Camp Adventures.
But I'll tell you this, you might think that you're gonna be glued to people and all of a sudden we'll be out walking around and you'll be like, squirrel, and you will be gone. And then somebody will say hello. You'll be glued to some random person you never knew because you're having a great conversation. And that'll be okay.
when she says squirrel, she means you're gonna scurry off like a squirrel. There are no squirrels at Burning Man. If you find a squirrel at Burning Man, that is matter out of place. Please say it doesn't go in the trash. Please bring it to me. I will take it home and I will make it my little baby squirrel. We will save its life.
I was gonna say, use your power of yet. There are no squirrels at Burning Man yet.
Yet. I don't ever want to see a squirrel at Burning Man. They would not survive out there.
It would be
That'd be
bad.
assumed. I've seen I mean, you'll see sometimes birds out there. You'll see bugs out there. That's about it. If you have a microscope, you can see the fairy shrimp that live in the playa dust. That's a
There are
real
no
thing.
pets, right?
There
Or
what?
are there pets allowed? Or
No, it's
That's-
not a good space for animals.
There are no dogs allowed. If you're bringing an animal, which I did for 10 years, you have to have a way to take very, very good care of them. I had a large bus that had air conditioning. That was my animal's home when we weren't at Burning Man. So my cat went to Burning Man for, I think she went for 10 years. Her playa name was Generator because I needed the generator working or I had to leave Burning Man because otherwise her life was in danger. But you don't want to bring animals to Burning Man in general, unless you have some extreme circumstance.
People do sneak them in. I've seen it, but they're not supposed to be there.
Well, you'll also see sometimes people who are part of the project have their dogs there. And
Or
you
people
can have
that-
service animals.
Service animals. But again, those people have ways to protect those animals. Yeah.
I don't have any pet, but I wanted to know just if there were going to be animals.
I saw a chicken one time.
Was
Everyone was chasing it around trying to catch the chicken. It was a good afternoon.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
An actual chicken, or was it
Actual
someone
real
dressed up
chicken.
as a chicken and it was being chased by the what are they called? What's
Chicken?
the furry, the people who drive around with a cage, the animal control. There is an animal control vehicle that is generally at Burning Man every year. It's a large animal control vehicle with a cage, and they go around and pick up furries. People are dressed up like animals, and then put them in their cage and lock them up.
I've seen someone try to was vacuuming the playa. That was fun.
There was someone who did that every year at center camp. He had like 300 feet of extension cord that would go back to his camp, and he'd try to vacuum the ring road around center camp, which is awesome because it makes the biggest mess. It is so amazingly. Anyways, you will now be spending, after Burning Man, you will be spending the rest of your life talking about the things you saw there.
And it's a city of 80,000 things and 80,000 people, and it's amazing. And you are not going to be able to do everything. You just can't. I mean, try to go to LA and say, I'm going to do everything in a week. It's not going to happen, right? So don't think that you've missed something. The playa is going to provide you with an experience, and that's the exact experience you're supposed to have that year. So even if that experience has you stuck in the med tent for 3 of those days, it is what it is, and accept and enjoy what you have. I think a lot of people are like, they'll go see photos online afterwards or something of a particular art project, and you'd be like, I never saw that. That was there that year. It's going to happen. You can't see everything. So don't try.
One of my favorite stories is that my 4th or 5th year, when, as I mentioned, there was this on the Esplanade, which you've now seen, is that front street that when you got in the open playa, you can see every camp that's on the Esplanade. There was this massive 4-story tall roller coaster that people had built out of like 8-inch steel tubing that had cars, and a line that was a block long of people wanting to ride it. It was amazing that somebody had done that. And then and it was just incredible. And on the way home, I drive my bus home, and we had about 8 people in the bus, and we were all talking about like, what did you see this year? And people were like, oh, I saw this, and what was the most amazing things? And then at one point somebody said, oh, well, and of course the roller coaster. And 6 other people said, oh my God, that was amazing. And one person said, there was a roller coaster at Burning Man, because you could actually be at something that huge and that amazing and completely miss front and center a 4-story tall roller coaster because there's just too much to experience.
Yeah.
I've actually been told that by a lot of people, like, go there without any expectation and I'm just going to love it. So I'm probably going to try to do that.
I say these things because we are recording, and I wanted to have other people as well who are new people understand.
Okay. Well, what are the other new questions? And then we should probably wrap it up.
Probably do a wrap. Yeah.
What are the things that new people don't know? Everything. You can't know anything until you're there. Until you've been to Burning Man, none of it makes sense. I think it's great that you guys are taking the jump. It will change your life.
No.
One small thing just came to my mind. When taking trips out to deep playa, plan on having a lot of wind in your face coming back. So a lot of times it can be, you think, oh, it wasn't that hard to get out there. Well, that's because you had wind at your back the whole time. And all of a sudden you're in deep playa, fighting 40-mile-an-hour winds, and you're pooped and low on water.
And
So,
maybe you're 15 minutes until your shift starts in kitchen.
yeah.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, it's not as easy getting back in. And so, yeah, make sure you. I like to have a watch. I don't like to use it at all, but because of I like to have it just in case. Like I want to know if a lot of times, even if you don't have a watch, there's a way to kind of, especially if your shift is like for dinner, a way to tell time just by looking at the mountain, how many fists you have between your hand and the mountain and the sun. So you don't necessarily need one, but I like to have a timepiece on me if I need it. So timepieces are nice, but unnecessary if you want to live that lifestyle.
And get ready for howling at the sun as it sets on the mountain range. That is a common Burning Man tradition. And if you can get up somewhere high, there's an interesting thing where you can notice that the sun actually sets backwards because you're in a valley, right? And the sun sets over this mountain, and so the shadow it casts goes backwards across the city. You can actually hear the howling going in the opposite direction from the sun, because the people on the other side of the city see the sunset sooner, who are closer to the mountain, than the people who are on the other side. And go spend at least one morning watching the sunrise from the trash fence, which is the pentagram on the ugly orange plastic trash fence that stops stuff from blowing outside of the camp and is considered the city boundaries. And don't cross the trash fence, because that would get you possibly in trouble.
Well, I have a thing I have to go get ready for at 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna peace out and say goodbye.
Yeah, I think we should call it. Unless
Yeah.
anybody has anything else to add or any other questions, we'll call
If
it
there
here.
are other questions, you
Good.
can
You
always
can stop the
post them.
recording.
Yeah, you can stop recording. But
I'll
before
stop
you
recording
do,
so we can say the things that we couldn't have said before.
yeah, but before you stop,
Okay.
if you do have questions and we didn't address them here, you can either email me, Diptie, Tractor Dave, or post
In
it
the
in
first
the,
timers.
in the
Put it in the
group.
Slack first
Put it
timers
in the
group.
Slack group. You can put it in the Facebook. You put it anywhere, we'll find it. We're looking. So.
All right. And then we'll see you at the burn. I'm stopping recording.